You know how sometimes one moment, one sentence, can make you see your whole life differently? For me, that moment came on my own birthday. The day that was supposed to be about love, family, and a little bit of celebration. Instead, I found myself standing in my own kitchen, shaking, as my daughter-in-law yelled at me, "Old woman, cook something? Are you planning to let the family starve?" And that was the exact moment something inside me broke. Tell me honestly, if someone said that to you, in your own house on your own birthday, would you have stayed silent? Or would you have snapped? Because I still don't know if I did the right thing. Let me start from the beginning. My name's Mina. I'm 62 years old, a retired schoolteacher, and a widow. My husband passed away 6 years ago. I have one son, Adil, who's 34 now. When his father died, he became my entire world. I poured everything into raising him right. I wanted him to have a good life, a stable home, a loving family. When he got married 3 years ago to a woman named Sarah, I was overjoyed. I remember telling everyone, "Finally, my home will have a daughter." I meant it. I never wanted to be one of those mothers-in-law who compete or control. I wanted peace. I wanted family. At first, things were okay. Sarah was polite, a little distant maybe, but I thought she just needed time to adjust. She was from the city, used to modern ways, and I was just a simple woman from a quiet neighborhood. I did my best. Cooked her favorite meals, gave her space, even let her redecorate the living room. But slowly, little things started to change. She stopped greeting me in the mornings. She started calling me Amma G, in this cold, formal tone instead of Amma. Then came the small insults, quiet ones, hidden in smiles. "Oh, you wouldn't understand, Amma G. This is modern life." Or, "You don't need to help, Amma G, you'll just get tired." I brushed them off, thinking maybe she didn't mean them harshly. But over time it became clear she didn't see me as family. She saw me as a burden. Adil worked long hours. I rarely complained, but the truth was, I spent most days alone. I'd cook for them, keep the house clean, wait for them to come home, hoping for a small chat or shared tea. But when they came, they were always too busy. Sometimes I'd hear laughter from their room while I sat outside watching TV by myself. Still, I kept telling myself, this is life. Children have their own worlds now. But deep down, the loneliness was heavy. When my birthday came around last year, I didn't expect much. Maybe a small cake, or a hug, or even just a happy birthday. That's all. Just acknowledgement. The morning started quietly. I woke early, prayed, and sat by the window watching the sunlight fill the garden. I still remember thinking, maybe they're planning something, and they're just pretending to forget. I made tea and smiled to myself, feeling this tiny hope in my chest. But as the hours passed, that hope began to fade. Sarah walked past me twice without saying a word. Adil was still asleep. I set breakfast for them quietly and sat down, pretending to read. Around noon, Adil left for work suddenly. No mention of my birthday. "I'll be late tonight, Amma," he said, grabbing his bag. "Sarah will be home? Don't worry." I smiled and nodded, pretending it didn't sting. But it did. When Sarah came into the kitchen later, she looked annoyed. "There's nothing cooked for lunch," she said flatly. I replied softly, "I thought we might order something today, since it's my birthday." She looked at me like I'd said something absurd. "Birthday? Oh, I forgot." Then she opened the fridge and sighed loudly. "You didn't cook, and there's nothing to eat. You expect me to do it now?" I stood there frozen, unsure how to respond. And that's when she snapped. Her voice suddenly rose, sharp and cruel. "Old woman, cook something. Are you planning to let the family starve?" Those words hit harder than a slap. The tone. It wasn't just irritation, it was contempt. I felt my chest tighten, my throat dry up. I wanted to say, "Sarah, I'm your mother too. You can't talk to me like that." But no words came out. My hands trembled. She stormed out of the kitchen, muttering something about lazy old people. I stood there for a long time, just staring at the counter, the teacup still half full. It wasn't just the insult. It was the realization that I had become invisible in my own home. The same home I built. The same kitchen I used to cook in for my husband and son, filled now with coldness and noise that didn't belong to me. That night, I cooked quietly. Not because she told me to, but because I couldn't bear the thought of anyone saying I'd failed my home. I made biryani, her favorite, and placed it on the table. When Adil came home, I waited for him to notice. He smiled, said the food was good, kissed Sarah on the forehead, and went to his room. Not a single word about my birthday. I didn't eat that night. The next morning, I told myself something had to change. I couldn't live like a ghost anymore. I didn't want to fight, but I needed to be seen. So I decided to do something I hadn't done in years. I went out. I visited my old friend Nusrat, a retired nurse who lived nearby. When she saw me, she hugged me and said, "Mina, you've lost so much weight. What's wrong?" And that's when I broke down. I told her everything. The loneliness, the silence, the insults. She listened quietly, then said something that stuck with me. "You taught hundreds of children how to respect others. You deserve respect too." That night, I came home with a decision. I wasn't going to argue or yell, but I would start living again. For me. I started volunteering at a nearby school, teaching poor kids in the evenings. I started dressing up again, meeting friends, smiling more. At first, Syra mocked me. Jeez found a new hobby. She'd say sarcastically. But I didn't react. I just kept doing it. After a few weeks, something shifted. Adil started noticing. He'd come home and find me gone and ask, "Where were you, Amma?" I'd smile and say, "Teaching." Slowly, his tone changed, softer, more curious. One evening, he showed up at the school to pick me up. He watched the kids hugging me goodbye and looked proud. On the way home, he said, "Amma, I didn't realize how much you do." I just smiled. Then came the turning point. A few weeks later, I fell mildly sick. Nothing serious, just a fever. I stayed in bed. Sarah walked in, holding her phone, and for the first time in months. She looked unsure. "Do you want tea?" she asked softly. I nodded. She made it. Clumsily, but she made it. That was the first time she ever did something for me. Around that time, Adil planned a small dinner for my next birthday. He said, "Amma, I owe you last year." When I walked into the decorated living room, I saw Syra holding a cake, nervous, but smiling. She said, "Happy birthday, Amma." It wasn't perfect, but it was real. I could see she was trying. Now here's where I want to pause and ask you, what would you have done? After being insulted, ignored, and humiliated like that, would you have forgiven? Or would you have left, closed your heart forever? Because I know some people think I was weak for not standing up that day. But I've learned something. Silence doesn't always mean surrender. Sometimes it's the space where change begins. After that night, things began to heal slowly. We started sharing small things again, morning tea, evening news, little conversations. One day, Sarah even told me she was pregnant. When she said, "You'll be a grandmother," I couldn't stop the tears. She reached for my hand, and for the first time, she held it willingly. Maybe she finally understood that I wasn't her enemy. When the baby was born, they named her Amani, meaning peace. And somehow, that name felt like fate's message. I helped raise her, and through her, Sarah and I became family again. She began to see me not as the old woman, but as someone who loved her child as deeply as she did. Now, years later, when I think back to that day, that awful birthday, I still feel the sting, but I also feel gratitude. Because that pain pushed me to rediscover myself. It taught me that love doesn't mean staying quiet, but it also doesn't mean revenge. Sometimes, the loudest message you can send is living with dignity. So no, I didn't yell back. I didn't walk out. I chose patience. And it gave me something better than victory. It gave me peace. If you were in my place, what would you have done? Would you have stayed silent, or would you have fought back? Tell me in the comments below. I really want to know what you think. And if you felt something in this story, if you believe that kindness and strength can coexist, then please like this video, subscribe for more real life stories like this, and share your thoughts below. Until next time, take care of your heart and of the people who might not say it, but need your love the most. I'll see you in the next story.